Yo, it's time. Moment we've all been waiting for. Vote. Yeah, everybody move to the music. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Star with BrickWall Reviews. I'm Dave, and that's right. Y'all know I'm hype. I'm excited. I got the best fashion piece I can find in my closet right now, and I'm here to talk to y'all about The Devil Wears Prada 2. That's right. I finally got to see The Devil Wears Prada 2. I talked about the first one recently as part of our 20 and 26 series, where we talk about the 20th anniversary of movies that came out in the year 2006. The Devil Wears Prada happened to be on that list. I had never saw it, and go check out my review for my thoughts on that. But just to recap really quick, I had a pretty good time watching that movie. I enjoyed it. I didn't think, there's certain things I didn't think about the movie. Like, I didn't think that Miranda Priestley was that bad of a boss. I didn't find it like the most fully entertaining movie, but it was very entertaining for what I walked into. And I talked about how excited I was to see the second one, how I was very interested to see where the story goes and where it picks up 20 years later. And boy, let me tell you, I was not disappointed, not in the slightest. There were some things that weren't perfect about this film, and I'll get into that. But overall, I want y'all to know, just off the bat, I had a great time watching this. But before I go any farther with my thoughts in this movie, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and do the most fashionable thing that you can never do and subscribe to this channel. Hit that like button down below. Share this video. Follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, the whole 9 yards, baby. And we're doing one super duper fashion. I'm gonna keep saying stuff about fashion, okay? Y'all just mind. We're gonna be doing the Louis Vuitton effect. No, I'm just kidding. All right, but on a serious note, we are going to be doing something really cool. We're going to be doing a live panel. Right, our first live panel at the Capital City Anime Fest, happening out in Trenton, New Jersey on June 6th, 4 p.m. If you're in the area, surrounding the area, I hope to see you there. But if you can't make it, we are going to be streaming it live on YouTube and probably Twitch as well. We're going to be streaming it. So we'll have information on that too. So you guys can join us, watch it, check it out, see us do our first panel. It's exciting, it's monumental for us, and can't wait for that to happen. But in the meantime, I'm here to talk to you about one movie and one movie only. That is The Devil Wears Prada 2. Okay, so this movie obviously picks up 20 years after the events of the first film, in which Andy, who was played by Anne Hathaway, again reprising her role, she finds herself back working under Miranda Priestley to help out with the magazine, right? To help out with the magazine. But there are some other challenges in the way because, as we know, very much like our real world, I felt like I tongue twisted that. There's a problem with physical media. A lot of people don't go and buy physical media, DVDs, CDs, stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of getting a resurgence and everything thanks to the newer generation, but still, it's not at the peak that it was back in early 2000s or so. So with that said, Miranda Priestley and the entire magazine, I didn't see now. Y'all would have thought that after watching these two movies practically back to back, that I would have remembered what the name of the magazine was. But I can't remember. Hold on, I'm about to get that name down. Because it was like Runway, right? Runway. Oh, I was right. Because the name was in my head. And I was thinking like, nah, that's not right. That's wrong. But I was right. I always remember, kids, go with the first answer you got in your head. 9 times out of 10, it's the right answer. 50-50 chance, 20-20 chance, 100-100 chance. Don't matter. It's always right. All right. So anyway, I'm hype right now. I'm hype. So Runway magazine, they pretty much had to pivot from doing like the print articles and stuff like that, much how many magazines and newspapers had to do. They had to pivot from using the physical media, and they had to kind of transition to be on the internet. What gets clicks, what gets views, you know what I'm saying? How many people are attracted to the website every day? If you can't meet the numbers, then boom, you're kind of out of luck, you're out of a business. So they're pretty much facing that. They're trying to figure out what kind of content could bring people into Runway magazine and make them, make them appreciate the brand, make them stick with the brand, make them hype up the brand so that they can make more money. So the company's kind of like in a weird position with that. So and it doesn't help that there was a scandal that happened with the Runway magazine, with the Runway, brand that happened under Miranda Priestley's watch. It was an accidental thing that happened. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did happen, and that kind of made things a little bit difficult, which kind of led to why they ended up hiring Andy. So Andy's pretty much there to kind of take, I believe they call it the free form. She was the free form writer, which she just writes different types of articles and stuff like that that can appeal to consumers to make them want to read. And so I won't get too much into that plot point because it's one in and of itself, because where Andy's at, as a matter of fact, when this movie starts, her entire like news casting team or journalistic team, they end up getting fired and laid off because for the very same reasons. With a lot of companies now, we see a lot of consolidating. We see companies buying out other companies and for tax write-offs or to get these exclusive bonuses and things like that, to cut down, trim around the edges, just so the rich can stay rich, pretty much is what it is. If you don't know, tap into those types of things. Watch how these companies have been folding and buying each other out and things like that. Look at the reasonings. They ain't always noble. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. So that basically ends up affecting Andy's position. Like I said, she gets fired, but like I said before, she ends up getting hired, and it's pretty much just it's the reunion, pretty much. Not like a hyped up, really proud thing. As a matter of fact, for those of you who've seen the trailer, y'all would see that Meryl Streep, not Meryl Streep, Miranda Priestley, I'm gonna refer to them by the character names. She acts like she doesn't even know who the hell Andy is, right? Like she's like, "Who are you? The Emilys? What is that? What are you talking about? Who are you?" What? But in true Miranda Priestley fashion, you just know she's being shady, and that's one of the things that I do love about this film. These characters, even Stanley Tucci's character, who I loved his character in the first one. I absolutely adored his character in this one. He has such a great arc. Even the other Emily, played by Emily Blunt, she had a great story arc. But one of the things I do love is that they are just as shady in this movie, if not more shady in this movie than they were in the first one. And by that, I mean, the way they talk about Andy to her face, Andy was catching bullets the whole damn movie. I mean, from the minute she walked back into that Runway building, they was tearing her ass up. They was like, "Oh, look at you." Like they was getting her ass. It was one thing they said to her, and I, for the life of me, I cannot remember what it was, but it had me cracking up. I mean, they was tearing her down. They was talking about her eyebrows. They was talking about her outfits. They was talking about how she still feel like she. And most of this was coming from Stanley Tucci's character. Most of this was coming from him. But if you watch the first one, you kind of see how he kind of, he kind of fucked with Andy a little bit. Like he kind of took her under his wing in the best way possible. I argued this point in my review for the first movie, is that nobody in this movie was an unreasonable asshole. Asshole, of course, but unreasonable. Like, again, just like in the first one, where it was just like, "Andy, you're not going to be babied through here. If you want me to baby you, that's not what's going to happen. You need to step up to the plate." They told her the exact same thing in this one. Like, "Andy, listen, you want this validation? What, you want a cookie? You want a pat on the back? You want $100 too? Like, you were hired for this job. You wanted this job. You needed this job. You know what I'm saying? You got the job. Do the job. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to find validate. Like, no, you find the validation in yourself for the job that you got hired to do." And that's what I like about these movies. It might sound a little crazy, but I like that like everybody in this movie is a well-balanced character in my view. It's like even Miranda Priestley, like she like, okay, yeah, like I didn't hire you. Yeah. So it's mild spoiler, but it's not like Miranda directly hired Andy to come back. And those are details I won't get into. I won't spoil that. But there is a particular reason why Andy ended up back at Runway, and it had very, very, very little to do with Miranda Priestley herself. But even then, she's just like, all right, well, you here to do this job. Like, I'm not gonna hold your hand. This wasn't really my call. So you're just gonna come in here, shut the fuck up, do your work, and just like before, when you do something that impresses me, I will let you know. And they do have a nice little heartfelt moment at some point in the movie where Miranda, says some pretty nice things, and she's more vulnerable in this film than she was in the last one. But when you look at the position that she's in, because she's on the cuff of being promoted to being like the global editor or something, I believe it was, like the global editor, pretty much a really big promotion she was on the cusp of. And there are some things that happen in the movie that kind of derail that or kind of push that to the side. But even still, you could see the stress that Miranda's under. You could understand the stress that she's under. And you can see Andy doing what Andy does best, which is going to bat, doing the impossible task. She gets an interview with somebody who's never done an interview before or hasn't done an interview in like so many years. And Andy books this interview, and it's done because of the work that Andy put in. So it's very interesting. I did really enjoy this movie. I enjoyed the storyline going with it. It was great to see the characters come back. It was great to see certain characters get their moments to shine. One character in particular, I won't spoil who it is, but they get a really, really, really nice moment. I love that so much. It was such a really good moment. But besides that, those are generally all the things I liked about the film, is that it's just, it didn't feel like it was trying to be something it didn't need to be. It naturally carried the story forward. It related to real world issues, things that are actually going on. Like I said, in the rise of AI, the rise of the internet, not even the rise of the internet, but just the fact that the internet is such a mainstay. What does that do to your other publications, your paper publications, your physical copies? What does it do to that? So it posed a very interesting question about that in creativity in the modern world, and as it relates to fashion, because you see how that stuff affects everything. You know what I'm saying? How AI can come in and potentially uproot an entire industry. And they talk about that. And it was a very serious conversation. It was very daunting. I heard that. I was like, wow, after a while, what will fashion matter? If you can just have an AI program just create something flashy and beautiful, what does it matter that we have fashion when we have technology? So that's worrisome. You can see how it's worrisome to an entire industry that's built off of influence. And they even talk about price hikes in fashion too, which is a very interesting to see. I like that as well. So there's a lot of different things that this movie tackles, but it doesn't do it in a preachy way. It doesn't do it in like a time-consuming way. It does it in a very naturalistic way. And I do like that about it. However, as much as I sing the praises of this film, which I had an amazing time watching this, I will say one major thing that I will say is a drawback is that this movie is like about 2 hours and 2 minutes, and at a certain point it does kind of like, it's like, okay, this is kind of long, but it's like it realizes that it kind of hits a point to where it kind of starts to drag its feet a little bit, and it kind of like throws it right back into what's interesting, right back into what's more entertaining to watch. For example, Andy, of course, had a romance subplot in this movie. And much like the first one, you have to question whether or not Andy's really the type that needs to be in a fucking relationship, especially if she's gonna work under Miranda goddamn Priestley, because she lets that work stuff really interfere with her life, like horribly so. And luckily this dude was really nice too. He's way better than the dude in the first movie. He was a lot nicer. And even the relationship that Andy has with someone like Emily, that's even kind of fleshed out a little bit more, and you kind of get, I'm not gonna say it retcons, but it does kind of answer a question that was brought up in the first film about a particular moment, and I'm gonna talk around it because they say exactly what the moment was. But it's such a small moment that when I thought back on it, I was like, oh, wow, that did happen. Like, why did that happen? It was such a weird thing that happened. They never explained why that happened, but they explained it in this film why that happened. And it leads to a very sweet moment that happens. So I know I just said the word happen like 85 times. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's not too much to say about this film. Um, except for that, if you liked the first one, if you enjoyed the first one, if the first one was your cup of tea, I assure you, you will love this movie. It is such a good follow up, and I don't get the chance to say that about movies that I didn't follow when I was younger. I don't get to say that about movies that I follow now. Not too often. I mean, like you follow something currently, like yeah, like a Marvel sequel or something like that. But for a movie that isn't an action movie, isn't like like a horror movie or something like that. Something that's just like it's a slice of life movie, regardless of how you think about it, right? And just something that's just like this, that came out at a time where I was not interested in watching it and not interested in wanting to, what I'm saying, see this movie, the first one, and just something that I've seen be a cultural phenomenon to a degree from afar, to be a newcomer into this fan base and be excited and have a good time watching both films and be invested in the characters and stay invested for the entire time I was there. Just have a good time, let loose, have a good time watching this. It was fun, and there was a lot of people in the theater I was at. I don't know why I was mentioning that, but it's just fun to mention sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. I really did enjoy it. The Devil Wears Prada 2 was fun, and I'm not the only person who thinks this, because this movie has it is now the fifth highest grossing film of the year, coming at 441 million against the 100 I can't talk. Against a $100 million production budget, which is really great. It's really great. And critically, this sits at a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb. I know I'm looking off to the side. I don't have my device in front of me like I usually do, so that's why I got to turn my head super far. But yeah, as for me though, like, I mean, taking all my likes and dislikes into account, because I liked a lot more about this film than I disliked. Even the usage of the song Vogue was so well placed in this movie. I was just like, yo, this is amazing. Like I when they started playing it, I was sitting there, because y'all know that's been my song since I've been watching these movies. All right, it's been my joint. I think about fashion, and they was they were slaying in them. They were slaying in them dresses. But I ain't gonna hold you. They had this whole montage when it was in Paris. She was in Paris. Was it France? They were overseas, right? But I believe it was in Paris. I believe it was in France. They were over there, and they were going to like different galas, different different events and whatnot. And man, like every time they walked, they didn't play. It wasn't Vogue that they played on that part. I believe it was the Runway song. It's a new song that came out. It's Dolce and Madonna. And they played that. So boy, the way they was walking with them damn dresses and shit on, like, oh, they was killing the walks and everything. It was top tier. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I still don't know a goddamn thing about fashion though, so don't ask me. I did not name the cast. Of course, I mentioned Meryl Streep, Aaron Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci, but there's also Justin Theroux, Kenneth Branagh. I hope I said that name right. I apologize for didn't. Lucy Liu was in this, and I love that she was in this. I love the role she played. But I like seeing Lucy Liu. It's great. BJ Novak, Simone Ashley, Tracy Thomas, Patrick Bramal, Caleb Heron, Lady Gaga, Donatella Versace makes an appearance, Sierra apparently, Heidi Klum, John Baptiste, Roy McIlroy, oh, good Lord, Naomi Campbell, Laura Rochelle, a lot of different people in this movie, a lot of Marc Jacobs, a lot of fashion icons, and just icons in this. But my rating for this film, I am giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, the biggest drawback for me is that it was a little long, but it was still enjoyable. So that's why I can give it 4. Y'all hear that motorcycle outside? It's crazy, right? Yeah. But yeah, now I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this movie. If you get the chance, if you have the time, if you are interested in this movie, check it out in theaters now. The Devil Wears Prada 2. And if you want to hear my thoughts on the first Devil Wears Prada, make sure y'all go check out that review. But that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the review, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and make sure that if you are in the area that you pop out to the Capital City Anime Fest in Trenton, New Jersey. I will be doing a panel there, 4:00 p.m. Make sure y'all pop through. Turn up. I'm gonna be putting the flyer up here next video we do, whatever the case may be, so y'all can see, you know what I'm saying, y'all. But that's it. That's all I have for y'all. Remember, show love to each other, stay fashionable, and until next time, be easy, stay breezy. One more thing, Miranda Pucci is not a bad boss. Boom. All right, be easy, stay breezy. Peace.